Of all the European countries I've ever visited, Belgium might be my least favorite, and while there are places there that I love, like Ypres, Bruges, and Dinant, I have to say that one city in particular gave me a really bad impression of the country, that being Antwerp. I visited it back in summer of 2023 and kind of hated it, and while I am open to going back, I think there's a small destination right by this major city that's far more interesting, but far more obscure. The hidden gem in question is the village of Doel, which ironically is the word for goal in Dutch, and let's just say I don't think the state that this village is in is anyone's goal. But to give you an idea of what Doel is like, only 100 people live here now, roughly. And while it has existed for quite some time, ever since 1965, there have been attempts to demolish the village in order to expand the port of the city of Antwerp. However, the inhabitants have fought against it. And I had heard all of this ahead of time, and it made me very interested in actually checking out this little village, so I did just that. And what I found was a really interesting, odd little place. There's graffiti and street art all over the place that's quite fascinating, including a lot of stuff about how Doel is here to stay and it's not going anywhere, showing the very rebellious spirit that this small village still has despite its waning population. There are a few attractions actually to visit here in the village, and if you walk around to each one of them, you'll see little placards with maps on them, letting you know where to go next, which is really helpful and quite well thought out for such a small place. Doel is situated right by the port and a nuclear power plant, so you can get amazing shots of empty streets that feel like they're ripped right out of The Last of Us, alongside a nuclear power plant and an old windmill that you can actually still visit. All in one shot, it's pretty fascinating. In general, I loved walking through the streets. It reminded me of the town that you meet Bill in the first Last of Us game, and it just felt so unique to go through and see all these abandoned buildings. You can walk through freely, see so much stuff, and it really feels like another world. I've never been to a place that feels quite like this. They even have a church, and while I couldn't go inside it, I could see it from the outside, and I could see the graveyard next to it. And I gotta say, both are very, very nice. They're kept up extremely well, especially considering the state that this village is in. And I gotta say, there are some actual churches in major cities in Belgium that are in worse shape. So congrats to Doel for that. There's an abandoned ship that feels like the ultimate catalyst of tetanus if I've ever seen one. It's just a very interesting place. There are a lot of cool things to check out. There's an old monastery, or cloister, I believe it's called. And while it's not a place that you're going to spend a lot of time in, it's certainly unique, and you could definitely spend a good hour walking around and checking everything out. The one last point I want to make about this amazing place is that it is safe, at least during the daytime. I was there at about 3 to 4 p.m. in the springtime, so it was very sunny, very warm, and bright outside, meaning I didn't feel unsafe at any point. In fact, there were tour groups walking around, there were groups from what I assume were after-school clubs, and in general, I feel like it's a place that's become somewhat touristy to the point that you don't really have to worry by going there. A lot of the abandoned buildings have been very securely blocked up with metal so that people can't break into them and start shady activities. And while it's not a place I'd like to walk around at night, well, actually I kind of would, but only because it would be scary, it's a place that I think you can visit while it's light outside, really with no problems. So if you think that sounds interesting and you have the means to get there, which basically means you have a car and you're somewhere near Antwerp, then I highly recommend checking out this little village. Who knows? Maybe you'll find some cordyceps like I think I did in this one lady's window.